What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Water Cooler Talk. My name is Caleb Turner, and I'm a sports writer at KSL.com. It is Sunday, October 5th. Yep, you heard that right. We are officially into spooky season. It is October. Fall is upon us, everybody. And that means a lot of sports. It means a lot of stuff to talk about. So I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all cozying up as the cold weather has officially hit Utah. Got the wettest day on record in Salt Lake yesterday. The most rainfall we've had in a 24-hour period since like 1901 or something. It rained all day, basically, is everything you need to know. And so that was fun as I walked the not very long, about a block and a half walk from my parking spot to the Delta Center yesterday in the pouring rain. And I did not have an umbrella because I simply underestimated how wet I could get in a 10-minute walk. And the answer was quite a lot, enough that I had to go straight to the bathroom when I got in there, grab some paper towels, and dry my hair off. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I hope you guys were able to stay out of that. And with that rain came a dip in temps, and now we're hanging out in those 50s as opposed to the 80s we were in last week. So it's finally matching the temperature that I'm feeling inside that ice rink as I've gotten acclimated to the sport of hockey, covering the Mammoth now for KSL.com. It's been weird to have the 80 degrees outside and then the 60 degrees inside around the ice. Obviously on the ice, even colder than that. But luckily, I can't ice skate and I'm not out there. But yeah, it's like you take a jacket with you, take a sweater, or you just brave it. You wear the short sleeves in there, and you kind of keep your distance from the ice, and sometimes it works out. But yeah, it's a little bit more harmonized now between the inside and the outside, and that must mean, of course, that it is hockey season, hockey weather and hockey season. And that is what we'll start out with today. A little Mammoth minute. It'll probably end up being a little more than a minute for you guys, as the local NHL team officially kicks off their second season this week. They will be on the road starting Thursday in Denver, officially regular season beginning. We'll do a quick recap of the Utah Mammoth preseason, first of all, because they just played their final preseason game at home last night at the Delta Center, as I mentioned, when I got soaking wet. And it was a fun one. 10 total goals scored in that game. Mammoth walk away with a 6-4 win over the San Jose Sharks, with goals from 6 different players, which is always interesting to see as they spread that puck around. And it was their second win in a row, second win of preseason as well, since they lost their first 5, one of those being an overtime loss. And then they came back to the Delta Center on Thursday and Saturday this past week and won both of them against the Los Angeles Kings and the San Jose Sharks. So it was definitely a positive ending to the preseason for the Utah Mammoth as they now head into the regular season opener with some momentum, I would think. I will be traveling with the Mammoth. Well, not with them, but I will be going to the cities that they're going to over this opening 3-game road trip. Which means, unfortunately, I will not be taking the podcast gear with me, so we'll be off next Sunday. But so that means the next time that we're talking, I'll have a lot more Mammoth to talk about, because we would have been through, probably 5 or 6 games at least in the season 2 weeks from now. So there'll be a lot to talk about, a lot to look forward to there as we head into the regular season, like I mentioned, starting in Denver against the Colorado Avalanche on Thursday, October 9th, and then basically playing every other day for the next several weeks. On Saturday in Nashville against the Predators, and then they close out the road trip on Monday against the Chicago Blackhawks. All those games will be on Mammoth Plus, SEG Plus. The Mammoth don't have a nationally televised game until a bit later on in the season. They'll come back home for the home opener Wednesday, October 15th against Calgary. But it's not until, looks like, once again, Colorado Avalanche, their return trip to Salt Lake City at the Delta Center Tuesday, October 21st. That will be on ESPN. So big first opportunity to get to watch them if you're not here or don't have the streaming platform, Mammoth Plus, for all you Jazz Plus, Mammoth Plus people out there. And that'll be exciting. So new players, I think I've mentioned a little bit of on here. One of those new players scored last night, a free agent signing, Brandon Tanev. His nickname is Turbo, and he was looking pretty turbo, pretty quick, pretty fast last night on his goal. They got it off a face-off, so they dropped the puck, see which team, kind of like a jump ball in hockey, right? Mammoth get possession. Tanev breaks out, starts sprinting, skating down the ice. The puck comes to him, and he's one-on-one with the goalie, and he makes it happen, gets that goal. It was not the first goal that was scored. I think that might have even been the last goal that was scored in the game to give them 6 goals in the game in that 6-4 win. But Clayton Keller, the captain of the team, also scored a goal, his first goal of preseason. Dylan Gunther, their leading goal scorer in preseason, also one of their leading goal scorers last season, got another goal last night. And some really good play from defenseman Mikhail Sergachev with a couple assists and a goal of his own on the night. So he had 3 points total. But he was not included, curiously, in what is known as the 3 stars of the game. If you're not familiar with hockey, at the end of each game, 3 players are highlighted as the 3 stars of the game. So you get a 1 star, then the 2 star, then the 3 star, or first, second, and third star, I guess, is maybe how it is referred to. And Sergachev wasn't one of those, at least on the ESPN stats that I was looking at. So weird for 2 assists and a goal. Mammoth scored 4 of those 6 goals within a 6.5 minute period in the first period. So some quick scoring there, which was nice to see because so far in preseason they had only scored at most 2 goals in a game. So to get 4 so quickly, double that up, and then tripling that 2 to get up to 6 was, I'm sure, a welcome sight for all the fans in attendance. Shout out to people who made it out to the Delta Center for preseason and anyone who's following at home as well. So like I mentioned, a positive closing exclamation mark on the preseason, and now they can go into the regular season. They'll have to make, I believe, a couple more cuts to the roster. I think that'll happen tomorrow as they get ready for that NHL season opener. They start out with something like 64 players in training camp, and you got to get that down to 23. So we're talking, a third of the size a roster. They've already gotten that way down. Like I think a week ago or so, they were already down to like 40, 41, and they've made several cuts since then. So there are a couple prospects technically left, as far as my count goes. Players that haven't made their NHL debut yet, but were drafted by the Mammoth, and that would be Dmitry Simashev, another Russian, Sergachev, also Russian defenseman. They're buddies. They've been hanging out a lot in the offseason. And then the other one is also a Russian, but he is a forward, and his name is Daniil But, B-U-T. I think if you spell it correctly, there's little dots on that U as well to make it pronounced correctly. But they're both, as far as I know, still with the team. Simashev has been featured quite prominently in that back pairing on defense, and Boot as well. He had a couple goals in preseason, which is always a positive sign for a couple 20-year-olds, young guys looking to break into the show, the big leagues. So we'll see. I think we'll probably know over the next 24 hours or so whether or not they'll be making that trip to Colorado with the Mammoth, or if they'll be heading down to the AHL, the lower division, a little bit of farm system going on. It's down there in Tucson. The Tucson Roadrunners are the team that feeds into the Mammoth. that carries over, of course, from the Arizona Coyotes days. There was a little bit of talk actually this past week about could an AHL team, that one of those minor league teams come to Utah, especially with the Utah Grizzlies leaving. And Ryan Smith, owner of the Mammoth, owner of the Jazz as well, said he was open to it and thinks it actually will probably happen at some point. Now, where in Utah the team is located, he said, could be anywhere from St. George to northern Utah. So something to look forward to there for hockey fans in St. George or wherever you may be that's not in Salt Lake within reasonable distance from the Delta Center to go to Mammoth games. And for the next few months, Grizzlies games as they continue to have their final season at the Maverick Center. So, yeah, once again, that kind of does it for our Mammoth minute, or Mammoth 5, 6, 7 minutes, or whatever that was. But, yeah, once again, that's just to kind of fill in before I head out on that 3-game road trip. Should be a lot of fun. The only NHL arena that I've been in is the Delta Center. So I'm excited to see what other fan bases are like and see how this team fares in real games, regular season games, and on the road. Colorado especially, a very, very good team. Obviously, Stanley Cup winning team just a couple years ago. They've got some great players, a couple MVP candidates on that team. So starting off with a bang for the Mammoth. I know general manager Bill Armstrong said that the first game of the regular season is Game 7 for them. Every game from here on out is Game 7 because they're trying to make the playoffs, and there's an urgency to what they're doing, especially when it comes to these regular season games. Now that it starts to count in the standings, trying to become the 5th team in a row coached by Andre Tourigny, the head coach, to improve their record from one season to the next. He coached 4 years so far in the NHL as a head coach, and his teams have improved their record every year by at least 7 points in the standings. So that's pretty impressive. That's at least you get 2 points for a win and then a point for an overtime loss. So you're talking at least, they've improved by at least a couple, 2 or 3 wins every season. And if that continues, they're going to be knocking on the door of the playoffs. In fact, they'll have to make the playoffs because you're right, they were already on the fringe last year. So you add in those 3 or 4 more wins. A couple more overtime games. We know this. We know the Mammoth loves overtime. There were plenty of overtime games last season. Didn't always come out on top, but hey, even if you lose in overtime, you get a point. So we'll see if this team can continue that trend and come with that urgency to improve and keep Bear. That's the nickname for the head coach, Andre Tourigny's record of improvement going. Keep that thing going. So a lot to look forward to here as we get towards that game. Season opener for the Utah Mammoth on Thursday in Colorado. Now moving on to the other resident of the Delta Center, that is the Utah Jazz. And I know a lot of you have been waiting for this. So much soccer, so much hockey talk. Well, Jazz fans, it is officially here. This week, a Jazz basketball game will be played Wednesday, October 8th, preseason opener for the Utah Jazz in Houston, taking on the Rockets, followed by a game on Friday against my San Antonio Spurs. So we get to see an early Wemby matchup, possibly, as long as Wemby's playing in preseason. And you get to get your first look at Ace Bailey, Utah Jazz rookie, top 5 pick out of Rutgers, highly touted in his class. And, I know a lot of people are not expecting a lot of wins maybe from this Jazz team this season, but exciting nonetheless with the young roster they have. See what happens with guys like Keontae George, Cody Williams, Taylor Hendricks, a top 10 draft pick from just a couple years ago, is back and healthy. He had a really awful leg injury, broke his leg last year in preseason, actually, I believe. So full year removed from that. He'll be back for the Jazz. So for those couple games in Texas before the preseason home opener, a week from tomorrow, Monday, October 13th, against the Dallas Mavericks. And that'll even be on NBA TV, although those usually get blacked out here if you live in the Jazz market. So that's for you, all you people who are outside of Utah listening to this and want to watch the Jazz as well. But yeah, preseason getting started for the Utah Jazz. They will not start their regular season until October 22nd. So still got a couple weeks here before that opener at home against the LA Clippers, who have had their fair share of drama in the offseason. If you're wondering what that's all about, just Google Kawhi Leonard and just see what pops up. Nothing super scandalous, mostly just financially. Apparently there was a little fraud going on with how the Clippers were paying star Kawhi Leonard under the table via a tree planting company. So we'll get the first look at that team after all that gossip and stuff that came out. It'll be against the Jazz, October 22nd at the Delta Center. So a lot of both on the court and off the court fun stuff to look forward to there. Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Chris Paul is back with the Clippers. I know all you Jazz fans love Chris Paul, so make sure you turn out for that one on October 22nd against the Clippers. And we'll finish things out, of course, with our look at college football because, yep, you guessed it, we've been hyping it up, and we are officially 2 weeks out from the Holy War, Utah versus BYU, down in Provo, Lavelle Edwards Stadium. But there is one game in between that. BYU is taking on Arizona. Both Utah and BYU playing Arizona schools this week. And it'll be the Cougars heading down to Tucson to take on the Wildcats of Arizona. That'll be on Saturday, October 11th at 6 p.m. Following up the Cougars' big win over West Virginia at home at Lavelle Edwards Stadium, 38-24. A cool 351 passing yards from the one and only Bear Bachmeier, true freshman quarterback of the BYU Cougars. Chase Roberts, 161 receiving yards. Man, the Cougars are playing. They're 5-0, ranked number 18 in the country. It's been a hot start to the season, but you might say it's been a little bit little cupcake, a little easy to start Big 12 play. Colorado and West Virginia, not exactly Big 12 contenders, but we get into some interesting weeks here over the next little bit. A little warm up with Arizona on the road, playing against Utah the next week, who's been ranked, and then you actually get into some ranked opponents even after Utah, facing Iowa State and Texas Tech. So we're starting to get into a bit of a gauntlet here for the Cougars as we get into the depths, the real meat of Big 12 play, to test this guy, test Bear Bachmeier, and see if he's got what it takes to move from 5-0 to 6-0, 7-0, 8-0. Who's to say, right? Could we go 9-0 after taking on a top 10 Texas Tech team? We shall see. Man, tickets for those games are looking pricey. Even the Holy War, I'm looking at ESPN right now. We're looking at a little ticket estimate. $268, cheapest ticket to get into the Holy War. Utah versus BYU on October 18th. Not bad. And then at Texas Tech, $155, cheapest to see BYU take on the Red Raiders down there in Lubbock. Those are the two most expensive tickets, at least remain on the season for BYU. Just a fun little feature of this ESPN schedule. As you're checking it out, you get to see, hey, how much would it cost if I want to go to this game? And on the flip side of things, we're looking at the Utes. They had their bye week this past week, so no game to recap for the Utah Utes, but they, like I mentioned, will also be taking on a team down from the state south of us, Arizona, welcoming number 21, Arizona State, to Rice Eccles Stadium Saturday, October 11th at 8:15 p.m. So a bit of a late kick there. A would-be Pac-12 after dark, a couple former Pac-12 teams facing off in Salt Lake City. Oh, and you guessed it, that's a $100 game right there, $101 ticket right there. Of course, BYU, like I mentioned, that game will be a little pricey the week after. And then Utah welcoming Colorado primetime Deion Sanders coach to Rice Eccles the week following for $223. You can get into Rice Cycles for that game. But yeah, everything's leading up, I think, to this BYU versus Utah game. Utah's still right there on the fringes of the top 25. They got in for a second, lost that game against Texas Tech, so they got kind of dumped back out of the top 25. But we're looking at, a 4-1 team in Utah right now that's taking on another ranked team in Arizona State. So you win that game, you're 5-1. You could be ranked once again. We could be looking at a top 25 matchup in Provo the week after if both these teams take care of business. Take care of business against the Arizona teams, and we're facing a top 25 Holy War in Provo come October 18th. Don't worry, I will be back in town by that time, so we'll be recapping that one. Next time I talk to you guys, actually, will be our recap of that Holy War game on Sunday, October 19th, 2 weeks from today. Will be the day after that game. So some really exciting stuff to look forward to. Mammoth starting this week with regular season, Jazz preseason, BYU Utah big games coming up before that Holy War. So hope you guys are staying tuned. Have plenty to talk about, plenty to debate. Bet with your friends and your coworkers who's going to win those games. I'll be playing some NHL fantasy hockey this year. We'll see how that goes. I was invited by my fellow beat writer Brogan Houston from the Deseret News to play. Never played. As I've admitted on here and in writing on social media, I don't know a lot about hockey still. But I did fantasy baseball for the first time this year, and that was a lot of fun. So what's another one? What's another fantasy team, right? I mean, I'm going to be on the Yahoo Fantasy app anyway, checking my fantasy football team, so might as well. Check out some hockey players, too. Learn a little bit about what makes those fans tick. I am curious how the points work, and maybe it is just goals and assists, right? Because that's how the points in the actual game works. Maybe that's just how they do it in fantasy as well. The question I have is, are we allowed to draft Mammoth players? There might be a little, not necessarily conflict of interest, but some shenanigans that could happen there with media members. Because from what I understand, this fantasy league is made up of Mammoth media members, triple M there. So who will be the first to take Clayton Keller in our draft? That'll be the big question. Probably won't be me. I'll try and steer clear. I don't want to ruffle any feathers my first year covering the team. So I'll keep you guys updated on how that goes and how this road trip goes. I'm excited to check out these NHL arenas, NHL games, and we'll be back at you with an update in 2 weeks. So appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next time.